Week 14 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few quarterbacks I have as sleepers this week. The first quarterback, Tyler Shough of the New Orleans Saints, out there in 92% of fantasy leagues. And Shough, he's been playing good football the last 2 out of 3 weeks. He's putting up some fantasy numbers. I know going back early in the season in his first matchup versus Tampa Bay Buccaneer team, it was a horrible ball game for him, obviously. 128 yards, an interception, and 12 rush yards, and they only scored 3 points in that game. Was this New Orleans Saints team. But the last couple weeks, he's getting the report down. Him and Chris Olave on Johnson, he's having a good season. And also as well, Devon Vele the last 2 weeks has come around a little bit. So with actually some guys who could go out there and make plays, I think Tyler Shough, even in the game they're chasing points, could be a decent sleeper option. Week 10 at Carolina, 282 pass yards, 2 touchdowns in that one. Week 12 versus Atlanta, 243 pass yards, an interception, 22 rush yards, a fumble loss. And Week 13 at the Dolphins, 239 pass yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception, a 2-point conversion, and a fumble loss. So this week, on paper, not a horrible matchup. Like I said, Tampa, they do give up their points, and they give up the 6th most fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season. Next quarterback, Tyrod Taylor of the New York Jets. So this offense actually looks decent with Tyrod Taylor in their quarterback compared to what Justin Fields did a majority of his starts this season. Taylor out there in 89% of fantasy leagues in the last 2 weeks since he's been in the starting lineup for this Jet team. Week 12 of Baltimore, 222 pass yards, touchdown, interception, 19 rush yards. And last week in Week 13 versus the Falcons, had a solid game, 172 pass yards, a touchdown, 44 rush yards, a touchdown. So he's been one of the better backup quarterbacks over the last decade is Tyrod Taylor. But it just seems like anywhere he goes, he finds a way to get some starts towards the end of the season or start the season as the starter and then the young quarterback come in. So this year, it looks like he's going to close out as the quarterback for this Jet team. Like I said, the last 2 weeks, they've been in competitive games going 1-1 with him at quarterback. And this week, it's a good matchup versus the Dolphins that give up the 7th most fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season. So I wouldn't be surprised if Taylor goes out there once again and could score 15, 18 fantasy point range. And the final quarterback, Shedeur Sanders of the Cleveland Browns. So Shedeur Sanders, so far, the first 2 starts, it's been a mixed bag of results for him. And the one thing I'll give him, he's not taking a lot of sacks, and he's only turned the football over once, is Shedeur. And he's definitely got talent, but now, obviously, he's got to work out some of the kinks, is Shedeur Sanders, and be more consistent. Week 12 of Vegas, 209 pass yards, touchdown, interception. Week 13 versus the Niners, 149 pass yards, a touchdown, and 6 rush yards. I want to see them make Shedeur more comfortable with this Brown team, where I think they're playing it safe a little bit with his playmaking ability so far. So this week it is a good matchup versus the Tennessee Titans. Give up the 12th most fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season. I know there's not much going on with Jerry Jeudy and Tillman as your receivers, and Harold Fandon, even though I think he's a good tight end, all season long they get nothing from Jeudy and Tillman is this Brown team. But Shedeur Sanders, I want to see them use him more, getting out of the pocket, maybe running the football a little bit more as well. And we'll see this week at Tennessee in his 3rd start if they open up the playbook a little bit more for him. So out there, 92% of fantasy leagues. That's a few quarterbacks I have as sleepers for Week 14 of the fantasy football season.